You could say that beating her in the campaign was one step in the victory. But just as you, in the mythical Greek story of her head being severed, that is only the first feat. You then have to defeat the globalist Kraken with the head. But as a symbol of the globalist failure, as a symbol of their media lying that she'd be the winner, as the symbol of them saying Hillary must win or the dominoes falling to bring down globalism will be complete, archetypally, Trump is now holding up the Gorgon head and all the corruption and all the secrets and the entire global network tied into her as one of the top managers. He now has the Medusan head to take on the Kraken of the global network, the Chi-Coms, the unelected EU, Hollywood, all of it. You know, the whole globalist program to sabotage free markets and to bring in global tyranny run by megacorporations using socialism and communism to domesticate populations is being sabotaged by the people of the world waking up. So their attempt to sabotage us has now been reversed to a great extent. It's getting more intense every day, and the red wave of red blood, pro-humanity, pro-free market, pro-destiny is rising. There's not just a red wave here in America coming. It's already hit many areas of the world. We're in a global war against corporate global government. And if you read what the Financial Times of London says or what Conrad Black says, former steering member of the Bilderberg Group, or if you read what Atlantic Monthly says or you read CIA reports that are restricted but not classified, they now know the globalists are losing. They are irrevocably in deep, deep trouble. Now, they've still got the trillions of dollars they stole. And they can still engage in incredible mischief with that. But the Bezoses and the rest of the folks, the Bill Gateses out there, better watch it. Because if they want to fight, you better believe they've got one. So a lot of really, really exciting things happening and unfolding right now. Globalism was sold as this wonderful system of everybody living in equality and transferring wealth to the third world. But really it was a way to keep the third world controlled, drive down wages in the West, and then play the third world off against the West for total economic and cultural domination out of the clashing of civilizations. The UN, the IMF, the World Bank would then come in as the policeman of the world to stabilize the planet that they themselves had destabilized. Now, I've been telling people that for 23 years because I read what Senator Barry Goldwater discovered when he was in the classified hearings. I also read what Tragedy and Hope author, who was on the enemy side, wrote an 1,100-page book. And I read dozens and dozens of other books, hundreds of other magazine articles from Foreign Affairs and others who thought you were so stupid, who thought I was so stupid, that they would have their own admitted world government plan going on in plain view. But then if we criticized it, have ABC, CBS, NBC, and then later CNN, MSNBC say we were crazy. Oh, I don't want Obamacare. It's a ripoff. You're racist. I don't like the Federal Reserve being private, being above the law. You're anti-Semitic. These are the talking points that they used for decades on everybody, like Ron Paul, myself. But it didn't work, ladies and gentlemen. It didn't work. I mean, I remember 12 years ago, Drudge started linking to foreign newspaper articles about Bilderberg, and our media was so controlled in the U.S., they would say it was insane and didn't exist. Now they had articles this year saying that Bilderberg is saving the world, that Bilderberg tells the truth, that Bilderberg are the guardians of freedom. That was in CNBC just a few weeks ago. That a private consortium of mega banks and ultra-rich men meeting in secret to establish a world government and taxation power that they're exempt from is a good thing. So we have absolutely ultra-massive awakenings happening. It doesn't mean, though, that there's some utopia on the other side. We've just got a better chance of building a better world and having prosperity and freedom now because we're identifying the current global corrupt, kleptocratic, authoritarian, austerity-based system with a goal of absolute total tyranny. This is the reality. And the victory over Hillary, the main minion of the globalists here in North America, the keeper of the secrets, the keeper of the corruption, and her big foundation with $4 billion in it being used to pay everybody off to be part of this, you could say that beating her in the campaign was one step in the victory. Beating her in the campaign was one step to victory. But just as you, in the mythical Greek story of her head being severed, that is only the first feat. You then have to defeat the globalist Kraken with the head. But as a symbol of the globalist failure, as a symbol of their media lying that she'd be the winner, as the symbol of them saying Hillary must win or the dominoes falling to bring down globalism will be complete, archetypally, Trump is now holding up the Gorgon head and all the corruption and all the secrets and the entire global network tied into her as one of the top managers. He now has the Medusan head to take on the Kraken of the global network, the Chi-Coms, the unelected EU, Hollywood, all of it. That's why we have to continue to use her and bring her up and show how evil she is and bad and how she's a fraud and the corruption she was involved in. All of it trail back into the enemy's nest, and her head is a blueprint to defeat them and to expose their corruption and to have all the other dominoes fall in Washington, which will then fall into London and Brussels and Paris, right through into the Vatican, right through into Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, right through back into Berlin and Madrid, right through across Moscow, all the way into China. It's happening, ladies and gentlemen. And so Trump now, like Perseus, with the head of Medusa, is ready to vanquish the globalists. The archetype is true. There's one more thing, though. The horse. If Trump doesn't have the air, if Trump can't get his ideas across, he can't get up in the Titan's face, the Kraken, and fry it. And that's why we're in an information war. We've got to get Trump on the horse, in the sky, with the head, and we'll win. So there is your analogy of Trump and the Gorgon and the Kraken. Because believe me, they are releasing the Kraken. Soros used to spend maybe $1 billion a year trying to overthrow governments and do evil stuff. He just put tens of billions in. It's $18 billion a year he's now spending, trying to vaporize everybody. They're just flame-throwing everything. The communist Chinese are just throwing everything they've got at us. I mean, this is World War IV. Between the globalists and all their corrupt allies and all the parasitic crap they do. I mean, almost any evil you investigate, you run into Soros and the UN and the IMF and the World Bank. Like most of, it was in the news yesterday, it was in Bloomberg, that most of the workers' comp and ambulance chaser, exploding tire stuff in the country is financed by George Soros. And I already knew that. But think about that. Think about the level of that behavior. He spends millions per county to get certain sheriffs elected. He spends tens of millions to get state reps elected. He'll spend $100 million to get a congressman or woman elected. And he's doing it all over the world. Now, continuing, ladies and gentlemen, they are all in because they are losing. We are winning. Now, coming up at the bottom of the hour, I'm going to tell you currently, exclusively, hiding in plain view, who is currently the person about to be nominated to replace the outgoing Justice Kennedy. And I was told this back at the time. I know about what went on. I know the inside baseball. I was told all of it. And then a lot of it came out later in the news. But I'm going to tell you who currently, it may change, but who currently they are looking to put on the U.S. Supreme Court. It couldn't be a better person. So I am very, 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 very excited to be able to bring you this information. You might want to call your neighbors, your friends, your family, tell them to tune into Infowars.com/show or on the Twitter or Facebook or YouTube feeds or on local TV stations or radio stations where you're listening. That's how we reach more people. That's how we get around the censors. It's how we get into the air with the truth. That's our weapon system. That we've severed the head of the globalist. That we've taken back control of the beachhead. But now we've got to go face the larger global enemy that has been turned loose against us. This was only step one. But severing the head of the deep state here is a weapon we must use against the larger enemy, the Chi-Coms, the Devil Pope, the EU, and Hollywood. That is the consortium, that is the Kraken that we now face. Newswars.com.
You know, someone very profoundly once said many years ago that if fascism ever comes to America, it'll come in the name of liberalism.
If you are receiving this transmission, you are the resistance.
A few years ago, ideas that we talked about were thought to be fringe ideas, radical ideas, extremist ideas. Those ideas are now mainstream.
I just don't even know why there aren't uprisings all over the country.
And if you see anybody from that cabinet in a restaurant, in a department store, at a gasoline station, you get out and you create a crowd. And you push back on them. And you tell them they're not welcome anymore, anywhere.
Do something about your dad's immigration practices, you feckless c***.
What's Uncle Tom but for white women who disappoint other white women?
One way you get rid of Trump is a crashing economy, so please bring on the recession.
When was the last time an actor assassinated a president?
I have thought an awful lot about blowing up the White House.
It has been said that the Republican Party's testicles just dropped. That wasn't an Infowars.com ad you just saw. That was officially put out by the Republican Party. Ladies and gentlemen, they're finally getting the fact that the globalists are trying to start a violent revolution in this country and overthrow it and bring it down, just like Venezuela and so many others that have fallen to socialism and communism. And now Alexandra Cortez, 28-year-old communist, that's her platform. She calls herself a democratic socialist, is another bellwether winning a primary against the Democrat establishment candidate in New York. Ladies and gentlemen, there are few countries that have not fallen to socialism and communism. And that's because the big mega banks that are offshore finance it to bring down countries and control populations and annihilate middle classes. Much of Central and South America are in open martial law right now, with millions of people every year starving to death or being killed. Hundreds of millions are trying to migrate up to North America, threatening to collapse El Norte as well. Meanwhile, in Africa, in the Middle East, the UN and the globalists came in and funded the Arab Spring to bring down moderate pro-Western governments, engage in mass murder, and then turn the countries over to jihadis, further collapsing the area, then opening the borders of Europe up for full invasion. The UN has now openly announced that they are planning to take control of the EU during this emergency and bring in 200 million people that they will control. This is 21st century warfare. This is happening. But the good news is, all over the world, people are waking up to the globalist plan. Thanks to the viewers and listeners of InfoWars who have been recognized by the president, by the Pentagon, and by patriots in our intelligence agencies as being the original emergency beacon that started the chain reaction globally, allowing us to see this worldwide movement of populism, nationalism against collectivism and the big mega banks. But we've got to go further now. We've got to identify the big tech giants and the Fortune 100, the IBMs, the Microsofts, the Goldman Sachs, and others that are worth tens of trillions of dollars and are above the law, who are orchestrating this diabolical plan after oppressing the third world, now collapsing it and using it as a weapon against us. The globalists recognize that InfoWars has been on the very front lines of this global awakening. And they don't want us to be there as this fight intensifies to continue to rally free humans all over the planet against this diabolical globalist program. That's why it's more critical than ever that you understand that we are not supported by George Soros or any big banks or any big corporations. We are supported by you, the viewers, and the listeners that buy the products at InfoWarsStore.com. We need to be reprovisioned in this fight. We need to be able to fund our operation. And we make it easy with products like Super Blue, fluoride-free toothpaste, mouthwash, immune gargle, and so much more, fortified with colloidal silver, fortified with the highest quality iodine, fortified with natural essential oils, and more. You help your teeth, you help your body, you help your gums, you help your country, you help your planet through free market, free association. The products are 50% off right now going through our super sale that we're going to have on July 4th. Infowarsstore.com, Infowarslife.com. This is where you finance the second American Revolution, with the United States now attempting to stop the global government empire, attempting to take back control of our destiny on a global scale.